So you can only apply to one, Oxford or Cambridge. And it's a decision you have to make before you can even submit your UCAS form. Most people base their decision on anecdotes, reputation, vibes, or which one has the best pubs. But that's not good enough. In this video, we're going to break down the real differences, the teaching, the subjects, the cities, the admissions process, so you can make an informed choice. Let's begin. So before we compare the two, let's address the most basic question. Why not apply to both? Well, you can't apply to both Oxford and Cambridge in the same UCAS cycle. This is due to rules put in place to prevent both unis from becoming oversaturated with applications. You have to choose one, and you don't get a second chance in the same year. So let's start the comparison with rankings, because everyone looks at these. However, it's not that clear cut, and it depends which table you use. On the Complete University Guide, Cambridge takes first place and Oxford takes second. On the Guardian's list, Oxford takes first and Cambridge drops to third, behind St Andrews. Globally, they trade places year on year, but the honest truth is that at this level, overall rankings are meaningless for your decision. What matters more is the subject-specific ranking for the course you actually want to study. However, even this is flawed, as Oxford and Cambridge commonly appear in the top 2 places for many of these tables. At this point, you're splitting hairs, and that's not even considering the fact that they'll often trade first place from year to year. However, the courses are where the real differences start to appear between the two universities. The common myth is that Oxford is stronger for humanities and social sciences, while Cambridge is stronger for STEM subjects. This is somewhat true in some cases, but it's a little more nuanced than people think. For example, Oxford has produced 31 British Prime Ministers, many of whom studied courses like classics, law, and the famous PPE course. The uni has an exceptionally strong reputation in law, philosophy, English, history, and the social sciences. Cambridge, on the other hand, has a towering reputation in the natural sciences, mathematics, engineering, and computer science. Some of the most important scientific discoveries came out of Cambridge. But both universities are genuinely world-class across almost every subject. If you want to study medicine, for example, both are exceptional. If you want to study economics, both have outstanding programs. So while the general reputations are somewhat grounded in reality, don't let them override the specifics of the course you actually want to study. There's also structural differences in how courses work at the two universities that not enough applicants think about. Oxford tends to have more fixed, structured courses. If you apply for English, you study English. The course is well defined and there's less room to pivot. Cambridge, in some cases, offers slightly more flexibility. The Natural Science Tripos, for example, lets you combine different science subjects and specialise later. If you're not 100% sure which direction you want to take within a broad subject area, check whether one university's course structure gives you more room to explore. This can be a genuine differentiator. Next, let's look at the teaching styles between the two universities. Oxford and Cambridge are already pretty different from other UK universities due to one major aspect of their teaching, so let's explore this. At Oxford, teaching is built around the tutorial system. Tutorials are small group sessions, usually just you and 1 or 2 other students, meeting with an academic expert in their field. You'll typically prepare an essay or a problem set in advance, and a tutorial is a discussion of your work. There's nowhere to hide in these sessions, so you're expected to defend your arguments, respond to challenges, and think critically in real time. At Cambridge, the equivalent is the supervision system. Supervisions are very similar in format, small groups, academic discussion, FA-based preparation, but they're typically organised at the college level and can involve slightly different structures depending on your subject and college. But the core experience is the same: intense, personalised academic engagement that you simply cannot get at most other universities. Now, in practice, the difference between tutorials and supervisions is subtle. Both are designed to challenge you intellectually in a way that lectures alone cannot. Both are the key reason why Oxbridge produces such strong graduates. The experience you'll get at either university is, in this respect, remarkably similar. Between 2021 and 2024, Oxford's overall offer rate was 15.6%, while Cambridge's was 20.1%. On the surface, that can make Oxford look harder to get into, but this is misleading. The offer rate varies massively by subject. For example, Cambridge's STEM subjects can be extremely competitive, with some courses receiving far more applications per place than their Oxford equivalents. Conversely, some Oxford humanities courses can be more oversubscribed than their Cambridge counterparts. In terms of the actual application processes, the two are actually very similar. There are some subtle differences, such as the admissions tests that are required and Cambridge's exclusive application form, but the overall process and timeline is roughly the same for all Oxbridge applicants. The bottom line? Don't pick a university based on which one you think is easier to get into. Pick the one that's right for the subject that you want to study. Both will be competitive, both will be a challenge. The difference in offer rates at the overall level is not meaningful for any individual applicant. By the way, if you haven't downloaded the big book Oxbridge Applications yet, now's the time. It covers both universities, every stage of the application process, and it's completely free. Links in the description. Oxford and Cambridge feel genuinely different to live in, and this is something people underestimate. Oxford is a larger, more urban city. It has a wider variety of bars, restaurants, and other nightlife facilities. It also has better transport links, and it's closer to London, so the student body tends to have a more outward-facing, career-driven energy. If you want a university experience that feels connected to the wider world, Oxford has the edge. Cambridge is smaller, quieter, and more picturesque. The city is essentially built around the university in a way that Oxford isn't. It feels more self-contained, more academic in its atmosphere. The social scene is more student-centred, and there's a slightly more collaborative, less competitive vibe among students. If you want an experience that feels immersive and academically focused, Cambridge may be better for you. Neither is better, but they are different. Visiting both, ideally at an open day, is the best way to figure out which environment you'd thrive in. So, which should you choose? Honestly, there's no universally right answer. The best advice I can give you is this. Look at the specific course you want to study. Visit both universities if you can, and choose the one where you can see yourself being happy and doing your best work for 3 or 4 years. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe for more Oxbridge application guides, and grab the big book of Oxbridge applications from the link in the description for free to learn even more. Good luck, and see you next time.